Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wild Raven Tarot. This episode is our segment called Behind the Moon. It is a joint venture that I do with Celina, Essence of the Moon, and Ramon, Moon Scarab. See,
Yes.
see where we got that moon energy coming in there. Um, so, hey, you guys, how you doing? Let me tell everybody what we're doing first, and then we'll get into some discussion here. Um, as the thumbnail on the video says, we're discussing different forms of divination. There are a gripload of ways to do divination. Every culture has just a plethora, and we're going to talk about some of those today, especially the ones that we use here in Western society. Ramon, Celina, how are you guys doing tonight?
Good. Just another Thursday. I'm here. I'm just happy to be here with you guys. I just feel like I keep like pinching myself that I'm doing these live guys because it's just been so good and the feedback has been really great, So it's exciting times.
I love that.
Yeah, we're honored to have you with us, and it's that the energy flows great between us. So I think
we're like siblings, I feel. I feel like we
Yeah,
have like
yeah.
energy.
It does feel like we've known each other for quite a while.
And we have,
I'm trying to
at least
do
not
something.
me with you guys. I've only been on, for 5 months. So it's like I feel like I'm still like getting my toes wet,
Let's talk about that for a second. I want to talk about your meteoric rise into the community. Oh my gosh, you are so awesome. Everybody wants a piece of Celina these days. Her channel is growing at an astounding rate. I'm just privileged. You talk about you're glad. I'm privileged to be with you guys. Ramon was one of my heroes. He still is. I first came across him with that 78 card video he did. And I think I sent that video to everybody I know who does tarot. It's a standard.
I've even looked at that one because I'm like, well, let me see what new stuff I can learn. I feel like you're always learning, there's a different way to look at a card. There's a different meaning for it. And when you look at all the different guidebooks, they all have their own way of explaining like what they think that card is and what it means with their images. So that's why it's really good to look at the guidebooks because you can find new ways to interpret cards.
I'm both ashamed and impressed with myself for what's going to come out of my mouth right now. Joey, the Veiled Cottage Witch, gifted me with this deck of Marvel superhero tarot cards. I'm ashamed to say that it's become one of my favorite decks, like in the past couple days.
Why? The topic?
The superheroes, these are characters that I grew up with. When I was young in high school, I was one of 6 Mexicans in an all-white school. And I was beat up a lot. I was called names, and I just retreated into reading and comic books and things like that. So these were my heroes. These were my fantasies. This is what I wanted to see when I grew up. I wanted to be a superhero. And when I pull a card like, let's just grab one. I know it sounds ridiculous, Ramon, but
no, it's not. No, it's not.
It really does. Like the 3 of Swords on this is Wolverine's claws.
Oh, nice! That's so cool.
It's sorrow.
I love Wolverine. I mean, who doesn't love him?
Yeah, if you know the story of Wolverine, you can draw from that. And I've got several decks like that are just goofy, but they're fun. Hocus Pocus deck.
And that's the beauty
the really
of it.
large one, Hocus Pocus, or like the smaller one?
The smaller one, the regular. Okay. It's like a pit deck.
Okay.
That's what's so cool about nowadays with the whole variety of like topics and styles in tarot. Like everybody can relate to it. There's futuristic ones that I have. Some people don't like it. There's decks on food, on pandas, on drag queens, on cars, on
I
petite,
saw the drag queen. Yeah.
anything, yeah, any Golden Girls,
Yeah.
anything.
Buffy the
That
Vampire
you can
Slayer.
think
I
of,
mean,
hot,
Yeah.
alcohol, angels, saints.
mhm.
So that's
Kristen
the cool thing.
Demons,
posted
the devil, Baphomet.
yeah, Kristen Louise
There's
Mhm.
posted a video or a picture on Facebook the other
Facebook.
day
Yeah, I saw that.
of the zombie deck that she was
Yeah.
using, and I was like, "No way! That is the
No, that was
coolest
a
thing ever."
beautiful zombie deck. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
yeah, there's a deck for every vibe. Let's
Oh,
say hi to a
totally.
couple people real quick.
And there's
Uh,
I have a deck here that's called Wikipedia Spellbook, and they're all like they're decks, but they all have like spells on them. So you get like even like a
Yeah,
kitchen
I had that one
that
too.
it
Mhm.
has
the
like spells on it on the
Mhm.
back
the
of it.
Talisman Oracle deck is like that.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. Hi, Mysterio D.
Hi, Miss
Oh,
Terrell D.
hello.
Brenna.
Hello.
And you guys, I'm really bad with remembering everybody's real names. So if I refer to you by your screen name, forgive me. Heather, Indigo
Hello, Doug.
Jaguar.
Hi, Heather.
Ange, yes.
Mm,
I saw your request and I will do that. I was trying to and I couldn't figure out how. We're back to me being technically ridiculous. Joan Miranda.
hello.
You have to say it like that. You can't
I
say
know.
Joanne Miranda.
And then
You
it's
have to
funny
say
that you got
Joan
her to
Miranda.
read. You read for her the other day. Remember that? Back on, is it Cinco de Mayo, Cinco de Tarot?
Cinco de Tarot. That was an
Mhm.
awesome
Cinco de
show.
Terra.
Yeah, it was really
It
good.
was.
Alexis.
Alexis.
Hello, Lexi.
Hello. Great to see you.
She just
Lex,
unboxed 3 decks today herself.
Whoa.
3 decks. Oh my
3, yeah.
gosh.
Yeah,
You're
so
my
she was showing
hero.
3 decks that she has, like Oracle decks.
Ramblin' Rose 777.
Hello.
I gotta tell you guys, every time I see everybody show up for our shows, it just does my heart well.
Hello, Sarah. So she's the
We were
Lenormand
just
deck.
Yeah, thank you. We were just talking about it. I received this gorgeous alien Lenormand deck, and I'll tell you what I like about it is that
So did I. So did I. And I love it.
we love our decks.
And I
thank
have
you.
a print, and I love it too.
I
Oh
love
my
it
God.
because
Her
The dog
husband
is my
did that
favorite
for you
card.
guys. And then here's mine. So all 3 of us have our Lenormand
yes,
deck.
we have our Lenormand deck.
Mm-hmm.
I love it because it doesn't have the larger inset of the playing card. It does show what playing cards associated, but it doesn't like make it paramount. I like that.
Yeah. So he's working on a Kipper deck, and I know she said that he just started working on that, but that's exciting because I've never worked with Kipper, and Ramon was kind of like explaining that a little bit to me today. But yeah,
yeah,
hi,
we're gonna
Patsy.
talk about
The
that
dog.
too.
Look how cute that
Oh,
dog
he's
is.
so cute.
I like this one to the tower.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That one's really cool.
Beautiful.
Kristen, hey, we just set
Kristen.
up a date. We're gonna be reading together coming up soon.
Nice.
Witchy best friend.
Hello,
Gosh,
Jess.
we got a full house. Hershey.
Hi, Hershey.
3 degrees.
Hello.
So you guys watching in chat, be prepared to throw your favorite form of divination out when we open it up. So Karen, I will be reading with Karen coming up too. Purple Moon Tarot. I got to tell you, I love this name. I don't know why. The color purple is associated with Hermes, lilac, and moon. I just love the moon, as you can see by my 2 colleagues here.
2 moons.
2 moons. 3 degrees. What up, boo boo? Now, the forms of divination that people usually start off with, you guys, Madam Maru, I believe I said you.
Hello, Maru.
Is tarot cards and playing cards usually is what I've noticed. The other thing, if you're Hispanic, I don't know about other cultures, but when somebody is going to have a baby, what do? You break out their wedding ring and a shoelace or a necklace.
Yeah.
And you use it like
That's funny that it's traditions. Yeah, like there's different cultures that do different things for their own methods of divination?
Tarot cards is my favorite form of divination. They speak to me like no other form does. Fire scrying is the other form.
I like
Looking
that
into
one.
the flame. So now we're going to talk about that when we do the elements. But do you guys, when you started reading tarot, was it difficult for you to understand it, or did you take to it right away?
I mean, go ahead.
Let's
So
start
for
with Celina.
me,
Yeah.
yes. So
Yes.
for me, it was more intuitively reading it, like finding a deck that I really connected with, because there's so many decks out there. We are just talking about that. You know, there's so many different types of decks out there, and finding one that you really connect with, and the images, you know, where they actually do make sense for you. I think that's the first thing, is connecting, finding a deck that you connect with, and then looking at the guidebook to see, or like any of the, like the books that people have in that cell, and to help you read the tarot itself. But I think it was hard at first, but I feel like with anything else, the more you practice it, the more you work with it, the more you know, intuitively just sit there with it and look at each image and figure out what it is it's trying to tell you. I think that's when it starts coming, you know, that's when you start getting that information, and it kind of feels like second nature sometimes. But sometimes it doesn't, you know, depending on what deck you're using. You have to
And
really
Ramon,
think about what it means.
I mean, it was difficult, maybe in the sense of trying to understand the system. I started with Rider-Waite, and my process of bonding with tarot and understanding it, I feel it was much easier using Rider-Waite than maybe Marseille, just because all the cards have images. And you at first, when you look at the cards, you kind of like can get at first glance the energy of what it could represent, especially major arcanas, right? The
right.
devil, death, the fool. So, but there was a process in trying to understand the system, learning, the meaning of each one of the elements, and then after that, building upon that knowledge, associated with astrology, numerology, the
Right.
reverse, etc. So, I mean, it was a journey, but I think it's if you start reading tarot intuitively, like a lot of people do, without being tied up to keywords, it's easy. Everybody has their own journey and connects in different ways.
So
Yeah.
what's your method with like Oracle deck over tarot deck? Like, did you want to use Oracle first over tarot? Because I did. Like
Mhm.
I
Nope.
felt like the images in Oracle really, like I was able to. There was no rules to it. I feel, where tarot, there has rules.
Yeah, exactly.
You
When
know.
I
Hmm.
first started out, I didn't want to use oracle cards because I didn't have a handle on my intuition yet.
Mm,
To me, they were just cards. That's all they were, pretty pictures. And
Hmm.
with tarot, they actually form a sentence in my head, so to speak. They make a paragraph and then they make a story.
hmm
Um, I just keep building on it. With the oracle cards, I couldn't use them right away in the same way. It just didn't make sense. I didn't start reading intuitively. I started reading numerologically and intuitively, but more numerology. Um, yeah, so when I finally got to start using oracle cards, um, it was only a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago.
mm.
Um, I started with the Talisman Oracle deck. Um, a friend of mine was in a class that I was working in, and he had that deck, and I had the Heaven and Earth deck, and we were looking at each other's decks. And we each ran out and bought it in the other room. It was at a store. So I walked out with a brand new deck, but it had a magical element to it. And so it started making more sense to me.
Okay.
And then, of course, Ken Payne and Chris. Sorry, Ramon. Chris
Um,
Butler.
There you go. I'm expecting it somewhere in the show. It was
somewhere
gonna
it's
pop
gonna
up.
happen.
The other day he mentioned it again, and I'm like, you know what Ramon's gonna say? Get a room, you guys.
I was like,
I regret saying that. I have to say.
yeah,
Hilarious. And
it was hilarious. It was
because you're gonna
funny as
have
hell.
him on soon.
I was like, oh my,
have...
that was so inappropriate.
No, I
It
thought it
was
was
fun.
perfect. I loved it. I'm like, this is like the perfect thing ever.
Yeah, we're trying to do a show, me and him, with
The epithet.
Christian iconic I iconography in tarot.
Oh, okay.
And I can't even say it, but it has to be pre-recorded because his he takes care of his mom. So
yeah, there's some personal stuff going on. Yeah, I wanted to have him in orbit, also in orbit with, but he has some personal stuff going on. But I love Chris. I mean, I have his decks. He's a beautiful person.
I brought him up because of the Oracle of the Hecate Path deck. I mean, when I saw that was coming out, I had just become friends with Chris. I didn't know about the deck.
Yeah.
And then I saw it, and I was in public when I saw it, and screamed like a 9-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And went, ah!
I saw it in November as like a pre-order on Amazon, and then I got it. I think it came out in March. So it's been like a little over a year since it came out. But I love that.
I have it. I haven't used it yet. But going back to your question with oracles, when I started with tarot, and then transitioning into other forms of cartomancy like Lenormand, reading with playing cards, I was very resistant to use oracle cards because I felt that it was too. I wanted to dig deep into the meaning of the card. Whereas to me, oracle it was like very explicit right there. There was a keyword. There was maybe like some sentences related to it. So to me, like I didn't resonate with it. But now I love oracle cards. I love them because I use them as clarifiers.
Now,
To me, I found it to be like so weird. People reading just with oracle cards. But now I understand the beauty of it. You can use it as a clarifier. You can stack it with other forms of divination. I've used
main message,
oracle,
and then like do all.
Yeah, I've used oracle cards as spreads. Spreads.
Yeah,
trying to just using oracle cards. So, I said some people don't use them. Some people don't use tarot. There's different. I mean, it resonates. Different divination tools resonate different with different people.
Yeah, we have a Space Theorizing asked, don't you three think oracle cards have really changed? I think they have changed for the better.
Yeah.
Like decks, they've become complex. Like the Isis deck I got. Oh my gosh, such a beautiful deck and so complex at the same time. Some of the decks are real simple and cheesy, and I don't like those decks. I need something I could build off of. You mentioned we were talking about Lenormand and cartomancy in playing cards. Playing cards is another favorite of mine because there are places where I'm at sometimes, like with family. I can't carry tarot cards with me. My husband's family is very Christian, very MAGA, and I can't do that. But I can sit at the kitchen table playing solitaire, quote unquote, and they really don't know what's going on.
Or you can pull out loteria.
Loteria,
right?
We were just talking about that the other day, Ramo.
Yeah, you can pull out loteria and use that.
Explain what loteria is.
So the Loteria Mexicana, it's a bingo game. So there is these boards that have like all different images, and someone who's I actually have a loteria here. Basically the person, instead of calling numbers to fill the bingo board, they're calling images. But the cards themselves are being used for divination purposes. Like for example, there's this one, El Venado, which is the deer. There's a lot of like La Pera, the pear. There's a lot of similar archetypes between tarot and La Loteria and other forms of divination. images like La Luna,
The
like the moon,
devil.
the
Yeah.
sun, the
Yeah.
devil, the
Star.
star.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So and other new
The
ones, like
world.
some of
They
the
have
ones
it
that are,
named one. So
Mhm.
they have the
yeah. There's a
world.
woman. There's a
Hmm.
man. There's other ones like the onion. There's a lot of different ones.
Hmm.
And they're used for divination purposes. Like, and it started as a game. You
Hmm.
know, like a lot of the current divination tools that are being used. You know, like dice or playing
Yeah.
cards, tarot itself.
Ramon, do you have your list with you that you sent me about divination? If not, I can pull
Yes.
it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you can pull it too.
I
Um.
Ramon freed me. Okay, I when we decided to do this show, I knew there was a lot of forms of divination, but our dear Ramon sent me a list that I wasn't expecting. I was like, dude, this is awesome.
And it was via email, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um. Oh no.
Yeah, here it is.
Yep.
Okay.
25
Good.
divination methods.
Yes. Um. Let's go down that list real quick and just check
Hmm.
them off.
But
Um.
before we go, let's define what divination is,
Yes. What a great idea.
right?
Starting point.
Uh-huh. Let's start
Okay.
with that. So,
Do
what is divination? I wrote down some ideas. So, divination is the practice of seeking knowledge, insight, or guidance about the unknown, often concerning the future, hidden truths, or spiritual matters through interpretive or symbolic means. It typically involves using tools, rituals, or intuitive perception to communicate with a higher power, spiritual realm, or the unconscious mind. So divination is trying to like extrapolate information using tools, and either using your own unconscious mind or a spiritual power. You know, it's gaining knowledge. It's the attempt of gaining knowledge of energies, events that could
Hmm.
be current or future, or ways of interpreted situations, um, through
not
different
just the
methods.
future. It brings
Yeah, past time.
clarity to the
Yeah.
past and present also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it, tools of divination are only restricted by the user's imagination, as far as I'm concerned. If
That's
you
correct.
have a need and say all you have around you is some needles and some water, and a plate. You can put the needles on there with the water.
Matches. Same
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
matches,
Matches.
anything. And we're gonna hopefully cover
Hmm.
all of this. So, what's the first thing on your list, Ramon? What do you got for us?
Um, so we're gonna start with cartomancy. And cartomancy, what is it? It's divination using cards. And there's a lot of different forms of using cartomancy. We have playing cards, we have tarot cards, we have tarot decks, we have oracles, like we just mentioned. We have other forms, other systems of divination, like Lenormand,
Mhm.
Kipper. There's other ones, and I
What?
brought some examples. There's one called La Vera Sibilla, which is a cartomancy system from Italy, and it's very similar to Lenormand and Kipper, but it's kind of like an Italian version, and it's 52 cards. And similar to Kipper, it touches in a lot of like social aspects and emotional ones, like speranza, hope. What else? Bambino, the child. And it's like all these different scenarios in situation, the coffin, death in this case, morte, la morte. And you know, it's a totally different system, but again, it's in the format of cards, so it falls within cartomancy.
Hmm.
Similar to this one, we also have Sibyl de Salons, which is also a similar Kipper, La Vera Sibilla, but it's a French version. Similar as well, you know, the same amount of cards and similar topics. So it doesn't matter the type of topic or what is it that it's exploring. Once it's in the shape of a card, it's considered cartomancy. Another one that actually, do I have it here? Yeah, This one will be considered palmistry, but again, it falls within cartomancy because the format that is being
Really?
used is cards. Yeah,
How does
and
that work?
this one is basically an oracle um, that gives you keywords. It's very similar to the Thoth system, not the Crowley Thoth, the other. Um, this one, for example. So it's an oracle.
It looks
It's
very
in
similar to the
French.
gypsy card, doesn't it? Or no?
Yes.
A little bit, yeah.
Uh-huh. This one talks about profit, and it shows you like a playing card on this side and the line that is related to that.
That's cool. I may have to order
Intrigues.
that.
Yeah, it's out of print.
Of
I'm
course it
pretty sure
is.
you can find it at a very high price, but it's still accessible. It's made by Grimaud, which is a French uh, cartomancer publisher,
Uh-huh.
but you can definitely find it. It's really cool. I love it.
That looks
So it
very
like
cool.
it really doesn't matter what is it. I have dominoes, playing
Mhm.
cards, and domino divination is a totally different system. But again, as in cards, it will be considered cartomancy. So that's one of the forms of divination, cartomancy, and it has a whole variety of topics, formats, and things that it explores.
What? Mr. the Neapolitan Italian cards? I have to look that up. Okay. Um, so
Oh,
what's
this
next?
one. Let me show you this one quick. This is called the Oracolo di Paracelso, and Paracelsus was a alchemist from the Renaissance era, and this one is associated with geomantic sticks. So geomantic sticks, what's are these? There's
Mhm.
4 different sticks that combine. They the combination gives you like 16 different geomantic figures, but is also in the shape of cards. So here we have, for example, this one via, which is the path or the way. We have puer, which is male. These are words in Latin, and it explores the male energy. We have populus, which is people. Geomantic figures, but in cards.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I'm gonna
There's
take your
a
list
lot of
out of order real quick. Um, since we're talking about geomantic sticks, which is going to lead to druid sticks and casting lots, I want to hit cleromancy real quick. For those who don't know, cleromancy is a form of divination that focuses on casting lots. So that'd be like druid sticks, anything you throw down, runes could be
mhm,
um, cleromancy, tarot cards, because we're throwing
charms.
them down randomly. Um, that's why I
Yeah.
consider Hermes the Lord of Tarot. Cleromancy is a real big thing with me. When I say we don't always have divination tools on hand, yeah, you do. Um, look at your reflection in the mirror. Mirrors are a big one. Um,
Or any type of water. You can look at a reflection in the water and find an image that way.
water,
Hmm.
elemental scrying is like I said with fire, a bowl
Yeah.
of water. It helps if you have a darker background, for me at least. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, but if you have a pen, you can take that ink out of that ballpoint pen, drop it in there, and see what happens.
Aren't you
Mhm.
clever?
So
That's
you don't have
good.
to, to have, I mean, you can have that dark background, but if you have that water and you don't have anything else and you want to do some type of scrying, grab a ballpoint pen, take out the end of it, and let that ink drop in there, and there you go. You can do some divination that way.
In food
Yeah.
coloring, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That's how geomancy started, and I guess we'll explore it
Yeah.
at that some point. But a cleromancy is like one of the oldest forms of divination because it takes a lot of different shapes. Since the beginning of humanity,
Hmm.
is being using divination. We casted bones, we casted stones, you
Bones.
know, other forms. Cleromancy is like a big category for other subcategories in that falls under it, because
Yeah.
you have conchomancy, for example, which is divination using seashells. That falls into claromancy,
Ooh.
but is a subcategory of
Mhm.
conchomancy is a subcategory. Yeah, if you're using dice will be considered claromancy, but there's another term for it, which is astrologo. Astrologo. How is
Come
that
on, you
called?
can
So
do
that
it, Bubba.
astralogomancy, astragalomancy. I'm sorry, astragalomancy, which is divination using specifically dice. You have, for example, I don't know,
A lot.
osteomancy, which I mentioned, using bones. So,
Bones.
like
Mhm.
anything that you throw falls within that category, but it has also subcategories associated with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Charm casting, for example, charm casting it's also claromancy.
Cleromancy.
Mhm.
Karen and Ange are two
Yeah. And I have a
favorite
bunch of
charm
charms here
casters.
that
Coin divination.
yeah,
It just occurred
that
to me too.
Ange sent me. So I have a
Coin
bunch of stuff
divination.
like Ange's charms in here, and it's
I
like
w-
all sorts of charms. It's not just like, I mean, there's all kinds of things in here. Like, look at this one. This is considered a charm. It's a
oh, is
blood bag.
that a blood bag?
Yeah. I mean, she sent me some of the coolest charms.
Hey, wait, hold it back up again. That's my blood type on the back. AB positive. Oh, AB positive is my blood type. Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Um,
Not funny, but like I mean, you can
I
find charms on absolutely anything. Like she sent me a bunch of, I mean, there's so many things on here that are like, look.
is that a little Russian doll?
Yeah.
A nesting doll.
Cigarette.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Ramon, what else you got on your list, bro?
No, so it's in claromancy. Going back to claromancy, it's one of the oldest ones in divination. And we find it in the Bible as well, which is a topic we're going to be touching possibly next week. Divination, the use of divination in the Bible. And there's a lot of different examples of divination being used, and not necessarily condemning it. Like, for example, the story of Jonah, when he was in the ship, that the storm all of a sudden happened. They were trying to figure out who was causing it, what was the cause. They casted lots to be able to find who was the person. That's
Mhm.
how they got to Jonas. One of the
Mm.
disciples, Matthew, the Christ disciples use casting lots to be able to select them. A lot of the partition of the land between the Israelites was done used casting lots. So divination there's a lot of very concrete examples in the Bible of being used, but it was like a everyday thing,
I didn't
and
know that. That's awesome.
yeah,
Mhm.
claromancy. There's a lot of different examples in the Bible. Claromancy is one of the oldest ones,
I
and
do know that Hermes is mentioned in the Bible, and Hermes, I bring him up again. I know between Chris and Hermes, um, Apollo is the god of prophecy, but he would not teach Hermes the art of prophecy. He would not share it with them, even though they were best of bros.
Mhm.
But he gifted him with the three B sisters who taught Hermes the art of divination through cleromancy, casting lots. So there's that.
Mhm.
Uh,
All right, in the list, the
yes.
next one we have aeromancy, which is divination using air and atmospheric events. And I
So
think
that's
we can
funny.
all associate
Yeah, I was doing that
with that.
the
There's
other day.
days that we sort of like feel the air, we look
Yeah.
at the sky, we don't know, it might look like a normal day, and you say today is gonna rain
Uh-huh.
just because how
Mhm.
the air feels, uh
Uh-oh.
or you feel when it's gonna snow and there's like no announcement of snow and it happens just because of patterns or things you observe or
Yeah,
feel in
patterns in
the
the
air.
clouds. Like even if you're finding like a cloud that looks like there's the shape of an angel or a shape of a bird. Like you can
Yeah.
find, like I was having my healing session with Joey on Tuesday, and as I was laying outside and having my meditation with her, I was looking up at the at the sky to see what the clouds were doing when she was doing that. Like when she was doing my reading, I was looking at the sky. I was listening to the birds, and there was a crow that kept continuously talking, like going crazy as she was trying to finish up my session. So it was like listening to the crow. It was looking at the clouds and the images that I was able to form by looking at the clouds while she was clearing specific chakras, to me was like a message, so I was doing
Yeah.
that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'll go deeper. It's not just looking at the clouds or looking at the
Mm-hmm.
sky. Sometimes it's feeling the air in spaces around you.
Mm-hmm.
The energy, or
Yeah.
I don't know. It's using air as a medium to be able to divine.
Yeah,
I love
it's like
that.
walking in a room and then noticing that the temperature is different, that the air is heavier, that
Mm-hmm.
something's going
Yes.
on, or you're going to be,
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's a sign that usually for me that there's a spirit there and they want to communicate, or there's like just heavy energy of bad spirit, of something that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
belong there.
Yes. Totally.
Yeah.
All right.
But,
Next one on the list is alleromancy. And
Alle-
alleromancy is divination using flour or baked messages. I think we all know the fortune cookie.
Yeah.
or
That
like
will be
I was doing the book that Miss Tarot D sent me, and it was the Italian book, and they were able to, have divination on if your pizza crust rised or not, like the dough, if it was
Oh
rising.
my gosh, that's
We do
awesome.
the same with tortillas. If it's
Yeah.
not rising properly, or it's not, like even when you are cooking it and it doesn't fully cause that air bubble in the middle, you're like, what's going on? What's wrong?
yeah,
So we
there's
did that with
something.
tortillas.
Mhm.
Italians do that with their pizza dough. I think it's the same.
Mhm.
I've
Yeah,
taken a handful of flour and held it up and gone like that and seen what patterns it makes.
yeah,
Mhm.
that will be alleromancy. It's using flour either raw or cooked as a form of divination. Or like for example, you Mexicans also have la rosca de Reyes
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
Christmas. It's
Yeah.
like a baked cake, and there's a figure of Jesus
No baby in
baked.
there.
And then if you get it, there's some
You
good
have to throw
luck
a
or something
party on.
related
You
to
have
it.
to throw a
Uh-huh.
party. Yeah.
Yeah.
In New Orleans for the Mardi Gras parades, they have king
Mhm.
cakes, which is
Yeah.
very similar. And when I lived in New Orleans as a teenager, I went to a couple of those parties. The people who get the little baby swallow those bitches. They don't want to pay for anything. They swallow them.
You have to throw a big party for like everybody
Yeah.
that's there, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what's after alliromancy?
We have arithmancy, arithmancy. So
Is
it's divination using numbers or numerology, but this is different than numerology itself because um, it's like, for example, you hear a word often, and then you decide to like find the numerical value of each one of the letters, and then add it and try to extrapolate some information. That'll be arithmancy. It's very different from numerology. When we use numbers, we associate numbers with different energies. Like two, expansion, five, crisis or change. But still both of them fall within the same category. It's the use of numbers for
that
divination
sounds like a lot
purposes.
of math. I don't like math. I don't like adding. Mm-mm.
I don't know. I like it. It's fun. I actually, let me show you a something that I have. I have a Rubik's cube that it's all numbers. So I have different divination tools, and I go to this one sometimes if for different reasons, past, present, future, or if I want a message. And I just like go through the Rubik's cube whenever I feel like stopping, and then I treat the whole thing like if it's a dice, and I throw it. It depending where it falls. If I decide, like, for example, past, present, future, or today, tomorrow, whichever values I assign, I just add the numbers. So, like, for example, we have 4 on the first one, but that can be stability or it could be stagnation. If I have 4 and 5, 9 and 4, that's 13. That'll be 4. Again, another 4. So there's another message there. It's, are you going from stagnation to stability, or, depending on what the question is or the values. I'm just giving like random examples.
I'm
We
impressed with
have,
that too.
Yeah, you have a lot
yes.
of divination tools around.
Dude,
Like more than normal. I'm just like thinking you must have a whole room full
I
of divination tools, huh?
I have a shitload of divination
I
tools.
do.
A lot of them I've created. Other ones, like, for example, I found this at a store and I said, this is a great numerology tool.
That's
It's
I
so
like,
want to
cool.
point out something you said, Ramon, which is the key to any kind of mancy or divination you're doing, is to set your intention beforehand. It's just like creating your own tarot spread. You know that this space is going to be this space is going to be this, and this space is going to be this. What he's saying is, if you're assigning those values to each row, that's fantastic. I love it. Now I've got to go down to the dollar store and see if I can get a Rubik's Cube. So what else we got?
So we have astromancy. Astromancy is divination using the stars and celestial bodies. And I mean, we can all associate with this, the energy of Saturn, and it's, depending how the stars are aligned, we
Care
find
Bear.
meaning. We find meaning, and examples of those, we have natal charts. There's astrology, like I mentioned.
Floppy fish, the fortune teller fish that Karen was just talking about.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Oh,
Yeah, Karen was
that's
just
so cool.
mentioning that. Yeah. So if it moves its head or tail or...
I never was impressed with those little suckers. They were just stupid. I hated those things. I did. But I loved fortune cookies opening up those
I
little...
love those too.
Yeah,
And
who doesn't love that?
what I do is I don't know if you guys do this. I don't look at the fortune until I completely swallow the cookie.
Yeah, so mine's
Oh,
all
no.
curled up and it's telling me it's passionate.
Ooh, you got a floppy fish, really?
I know. Dude, but if it curls up entirely, it means passionate. So,
Ooh, yeah.
How funny.
Lex, I want to point out you've got your wrench now, my love.
Oh, Lexi.
Lennon. Oh, Lennon. I keep
Oh,
saying Lennon when I see you online. Lennon.
speaking of Lennon and divination, didn't she mention one with you, Ramon, when she was behind in the orbit with her hair in the shower?
No. Oh, maybe. Yes.
Yeah, she was like washing her hair, and whatever she'd have left, she'd stick it on the wall, and whatever like whatever design or whatever image she saw.
Yeah,
that's
I don't recall when the
that was like,
conversation took place,
cool.
but
I mean,
I heard
that.
it.
The fact that she did that, but I thought I was weird doing that, and then she mentioned she did it on your live. Oh yeah, she says, yeah, I cry with my hair in the shower.
Ramon's videos have gotten us a lot of people into divination.
I know.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, and my friend Marissa's here. Hi, Marissa.
You scry with your hair in the shower. Oh,
yeah.
I've never thought of that, but
she mentioned that on yours, and I'm like, oh, I do that, but I didn't realize that was like an actual scrying thing. Yeah. Or like someone did
bobble shape of the soul. I read some of the tiles in my bathroom because they have shapes, and sometimes I get
a different image, or even like on your marble top. If you have like a marble top, and different images come up.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
What else you got?
Next one is bibliomancy, and bibliomancy is divination. It says divination using books, but that's more like a general term. We associate bibliomancy with like I mentioned, using books, but bibliomancy specifically is using the Bible or sacred books for divination.
Mhm.
And I have to say, this was like my first exposure to divination because I was raised in a Christian household, and
Mhm.
my dad does this all the time. And I used to do as a kid, not knowing that this is divination. I used to like when I needed a message from the divine, specifically from the Christian God, I used to like think of it and, in my mind, meditate the answer that I needed, the question that I had, and I will flip through the book through the Bible and find a verse, and it was associated with what I was asking, and I'll find like
Yeah.
nourishment and
Mhm.
messages in that form. But that's using like any type of sacred or religious book. The general term will be stichomancy, or divination using books.
S
Stichomancy. It
Sticko
comes stichomancy. Yeah, it comes from it's a Greek rooted word, and it means verse or line, and is using any secular book for divination purposes. You can use the Iliad or Socrates, for
Mhm.
for that purpose. I use a dictionary, and I have a video specific on this. I use a dictionary that I combine with dice, and it's a dictionary that is like 100 years old. And do you want to add the other camera so I can show you the
Mm,
the technique that I use?
there you go.
All right, cool. So this is the dictionary that I have, and this dictionary I think is from 1925. I love it because it's a vintage book, but the way I use this one is using dice. So I have these dice right here, and these two of the dice that I have, I'm sorry, is for the page. So I toss it, and I find the number of the page, 85. So I go to page 85, and then the other one is for the line. It's line number 10. And I go to line number 10, and then I have another one which is here to decide which column is it, if it's column 1 or column number 2. And then I find a word, and depending on the question that I have, I find an answer using a dictionary. So that'll be considered as sticklemancy, in general terms bibliomancy, but it's using books for divination purposes. I have
Yeah.
this other book that I love, and it's called the Book of Answers. And basically, it's a book to answer yes or no questions, and it has answers like follow through your obligations. Absolutely not. It's gonna be great. And there's like a whole variety here of answers that fall in between yes or no, but they're more specific. The thing with using books for divination, I prefer to use dice when I'm doing bibliomancy or sycomancy. The term is at this point is the same, but I like using dice. Why? Because when you flip through a book, on rare occasions you go to the first pages or you go to the last ones. Usually
Mhm.
you fall in between. So to give a fair chance to be able to, to all the pages, I use dice instead. That's my
Right.
method.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Dude,
Yeah.
people in the chat are like, "I'm trying that."
Yeah. And then Kristen Louise mentioned that Swedish one. My friend Miss
Yes.
Marzipan is in Sweden.
Yes, she did. I'm trying to fix
Mhm.
my hold on.
And this is
Come
my
on.
personal method. And this is
There
it
we go.
works for me and I love it and it speaks to me. You can have your own.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It could be newspapers, or whichever way, yeah, any form of text that you want to use for that
I
purpose.
did that when I was younger. I was sent to a Christian school because I had gotten kicked out of every other high school. um, but yeah, I used to do bibliomancy in class. Same thing, and I never
Mhm.
sitting down with intention, but letting your mind wander
Yeah. Or like
yeah.
just flip
Yeah.
the page, close your eyes, and
You
just start picking like which
in your
ones be it,
case,
and stop, and then that's your. If you don't have
you can
guides,
use
yeah.
you can use comic books for
Yes,
divination
Hmm.
for
Yeah.
I had yes. Okay, and I love this tarot deck, and you can make fun of me all you want, but it is a cute ass tarot deck. Um, I also have an Alice in Wonderland tarot deck, which I really love, but that one's a little edgier. It's the Wonderland Shadows.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So, Kristen had said that Swedish one, and I
Hmm.
accidentally took it down. I've never heard of that.
Me either.
All right. Well, I'll have to look into that. What
So
else
my
you
friend
got?
said, she said, I am in Sweden. I haven't done it myself, but could find out. So please do share if you have
Interesting.
experience with it. Yeah. So
Find
she's
out.
definitely, Marissa. We'd love to know what that's about.
Totally.
I love to know what
All
different
right.
cultures do, different countries, different cultures for their own type of divination.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What else you
Totally.
got?
We have botanomancy, and that is divination using plants or burning herbs.
Mhm.
Burning herbs. I don't know. I've
I'll
inhaled
t-
mugwort for divination. No, I'm not talking.
I knew
Yeah,
that was
that kind of
coming.
herb too. No, I was
That's
honest.
what
I
we're
didn't even
talking
think
about.
about
I'm
that.
like, oh my gosh, Bobby.
Oh, that's funny. No,
I mean, it's if it perfectly falls in the category,
Oh,
yeah,
totally.
you know.
mugwort is and blue
Hmm.
lotus. I've burned and inhaled the fumes for divination.
Peyote, it's used
Yeah.
by natives in central Mexico
Never
for,
had peyote.
But
I've
I'll
never.
give you a simpler one. I'll give you a simpler one that we can all relate. Taking a flower and doing he loves me, he loves me not. He loves me,
Yeah.
he loves me not. It falls within that category.
Yeah.
That'll be botanomancy.
Yeah. That's the same thing. That's a really good
Mhm.
example because I
I love
remember
it.
that one. When you're young and kids in the playground, and you like this kid that cross who's playing football, and you're like, does he like me or does he not? So then you grab a flower, particularly like
Yeah.
usually like a daisy or something, and then you start
Mhm.
pulling off
Did
the
you
petals,
guys, when you were
Yeah, of
in grade
course. When you
school,
get he loves me not, you start
and
pulling
you're
the
like,
rest.
did you
because he
guys
So you
doesn't.
do that thing with the paper?
Oh
The
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
the
yeah,
other one? That in kindergarten, we were
yeah. We did
doing
that
that,
too.
okay?
Yeah,
So that's divinate. We grew up with
I
divinations.
know.
It's all around us at all
Hmm.
times.
It's
Uh,
embedded in our culture.
Oh,
and I would
totally.
like to point out that I'm drinking my Hecka tea. Um, it's a Hecate blend of tea. So a Hecka tea.
Love it. That's clever.
Mm.
All right, next
Next,
one. Capnomancy. Capnomancy is divination using smoke. Simple. You can use incense, fire, the smoke from the fire, ritual smoke. Um, and an example will be like watching how incense or smoke moves to interpret a spirit presence, or it could be also shapes. We see shapes, and it's a form of scrying as well, through
is
smoke.
that the same thing as when you take a card and hold it over a candle like that and then look at the burn pattern or the smoke pattern on the card and divine it? I have a psychic here in town who does that, and she is
Hmm.
I was amazed at the way she did it. I mean, I thought I was good. She kicked my ass. It was awesome. Um,
I
yeah,
don't know, because I think it's if you're using fire, it to create like an image. It's not necessarily pyromancy, because
I
you're
think
not you're not scrying at fire per se. You're trying to find meaning in the image or
it's called
on the
smoke
card.
billets or something like smoke billet.
Mm.
But yeah, it was very cool. So what other ways to use it?
Um, with smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's watching how incense or smoke moves. I guess so it's one. Sometimes we had that experience, right? We meditate and we turn off our candle, and then we see sometimes shapes on the smoke, and you know,
That's it.
interpret.
Thank
I
you.
mean, there were people too, like when 9/11 happened, a lot of people were saying like they saw the face of the devil within, a figure within the smokes from coming out of the twin towers. You know, is that being able to see or find meaning in patterns in smoke?
Awesome. Yes, it was called Smoke Billet, and it's something I'm gonna start learning how to do because I was thoroughly impressed with it. What else you got, bro? I've been calling everybody
Zeromancy.
bro lately. I'm sorry,
We're all your bros.
bro.
Ceromancy, divination using wax, and there's different methods. Wax in water, the shape of the wax when the candle is spent, or actively, having candle, the wax dripping and seeing patterns. Um, so it's using wax as a medium for divination.
That this is Oniromancy, Winds of Reflection, and we're going to talk about that further down the list, I'm sure.
Mhm. You want to continue?
Yes, keep going. I'm loving this.
Okay. Chiromancy, divination by reading palms, the human palms,
Yep.
palmistry.
So have you guys had your palms read?
I have, and
haven't.
I read palms, but not in the same way as chiromancy, what Ramona's saying. You're talking about the lines and how each palm is different, right?
Correct.
When I do palm reading, I'm looking at the TV set in the middle of their palm. I'm reading the chakra in their palm. So I'm using it like a crystal ball.
Okay.
Mm.
So I had mine done recently by Rochelle, Amethyst Ascension. Her sister is a phenomenal palm reader. Miss Carla, Miss Kulala. And
Is that her sister?
yes.
Really? Because
Yeah.
they look so alike, and I always
Yeah.
thought that, but I didn't know that they were related.
So she's a phenomenal palm reader. She read my palm, and we did like a 2-hour video chat talking about my palms. And she was like going over like all the crosses in my hand, which are like good luck crosses. The shape of my finger, like if they're pointy, you have more psychic ability. If they're rounder, they're not as much. My lifeline, like everything. It was like a 2-hour long reading with her, and the stuff that I learned, like she knew everything about me by looking at my palms. I was like, oh my God.
Love it.
Like everything, like all the internal stuff that nobody gets to see. She knew everything by reading my palms. I was like, oh my God, this is spot on. Everything was spot on. How many kids I have, everything was all shows in your hands. How many marriages, how many bad marriages, good marriages, everything. It's so incredible.
I do want to learn the traditional method of chiromancy because it does deal with astrology too, the mounds of Jupiter, the mounds of Venus.
Jupiter, all of that. It's all
and now that I understand the astrology, I'd like to go ahead and explore other methods of how to apply it.
Yeah, it's such a really cool divination method. And if anyone wants, I mean, I'm going to say it now, if anybody wants to have their palm read, I'm going to definitely say go to Carla, Miss Kulala's Mystical Musing.
Miss Tarot D said Miss Tarot D says she used to be in the bars giving hand jobs. Oh, whoa. Wait, read palms in the bar. My bad.
Even
oh my God.
You
have some heavy bias with Miss Tarot D.
I love that woman.
Basically,
I do.
I love her.
You called her a tramp right there in public.
I love her.
I didn't mean to imply that she was a tramp. I meant to say it straight out. I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I love Miss Tarot D.
We do.
She's so special.
Yeah.
Miss Tarot D is her own category. Divination with Miss Tarot D will be dragomancy. Divination by
You
drag queen.
know,
Oh, that's a good one. Dragomancy. You hear that,
that
Miss Rodi? You have your own divination method.
Yes.
Miss Tarot D's energy comes straight out of the screen when I watch her videos.
Oh my God.
You're so sweet. You're so
She's
there. Is the only
enigmatic.
way I can describe. Yeah, enigmatic. What a
Yeah,
good
she's
word.
enigmatic. So like when I'm watching her, I'm like falling in love with her all over again every time I watch her on screen like that, because she really has a way of bringing you in, like you're sitting there across the table from her watching.
Yes, Miss
Even though
Tarot
like
D can suck
screen,
you in.
yeah, she's so good. I love her.
What else you got, Ramon?
What else do I have? Dactylomancy, divination using rings. It could be ring on a thread or a pendulum board.
Yeah. So like
An example,
yeah.
A ring swinging in a circle means no, or straight can mean yes. It's using a ring.
Yeah. So if you don't have a pendulum, you can use your ring, like your wedding ring, and if you're trying to figure out if your spouse is cheating on you, you can use your own wedding ring, put it on a string, and you can use it as a pendulum, or the birth of the sex of a baby, if it's going to be male or female.
A lot of us wear crystals. You can take that crystal off on the chain. There's your pendulum right there. I wear this when I do events to ground me and sometimes to use as a pendulum.
Yeah. It's such a good method. Like for me, I used it recently when I wanted to figure out if the fairies wanted to work with me. I'm like, how do I ask them if they want to work with me? So then my one friend said, pull out a pendulum and ask the pendulum, and it was giving me yes, no responses, and it was pretty cool.
Later on, I'm hoping to get back to it, but I want to talk about something you just said. Home spirit. Remind me later on tonight or after we're off the air, because it just gave me an idea. Ramon, what's next?
What's next? We have geomancy, divination using earth or random dots. One of the oldest forms of divination that is still be used. It's used in ancient Africa and still used by a lot of African cultures. It's called Ifa, and it's a really complex system of divination using marks. There's someone who does marks, and then a priest reads the messages coming from it. It's really complex, but geomancy, a lot of the things that we use today, like dominoes, for example, dice, come from geomancy. Geomantic sticks themselves, it's dots that are done on Earth, on you know, geo on Earth, and you read it for divination purposes. It came, it came from Africa. It got introduced to Europe through the Arabs, and like I said, dice, dominoes, geomantic sticks all come from that tradition.
No, when you say geomancy, I think of Asian forms of divination and setting like where they're going to build a house. What is called feng shui type energy. I know there is a form of geomancy that deals with that.
Well, it's like using a dowsing rod to figure out where the water's at.
Oh yeah. Do you guys see me flashing it in out?
Yeah, a little bit.
Sorry about that. Okay. I said they're having trouble in my area. All right, next up.
Hydromancy, divination using water.
My favorite, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
That can take a lot of shapes. It could be scrying, maybe finding patterns in moving water in a river, a dot falling on a body of water, anything, any form of it related to water.
Like skipping rocks in the water to see how many times it's going to skip, and then that'll probably and then from that you can probably go to the numerology part of it. Like, oh, it skipped 3 times, it skipped 4 times, you know.
Or you open your sink and the water comes black or a different color. You you find some divine message in it.
Yeah, you need to move. Your water's coming up black.
I hope you have filtered water.
I remember one time, and only once I did this because I was very upset and it just seemed like the thing to do. Everything in my life was going wrong. This was, gosh, 30 years ago. I had a Tupperware bowl of water, and I was crying at the time, and I let my tears fall into the water, and then I slammed my hands down into the water and up real quick. And as the water was settling, I was able to look at it and get my message. But that was a traumatic moment, and I don't advise people doing any form of magic or divination when they're having trauma. But I was young.
Why not?
Well, because you may tell yourself an answer that you want to hear instead of one that's actually there. You really do need a clear mind when doing divination. I as I remember correctly, I did get an answer, but it didn't help me very much. Water is in us. We are 90% water, I think. So that's sympathetic magic to me. That's reaching out from the water in us to the water in the bowl. But like I say, that's a personal viewpoint.
Yeah, but the tears, that's pretty profound. You know, using that, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm sure you could probably do other forms with your tears, like letting them fall on an index card and seeing the patterns they make. Or what other forms of water divination are there? Looking in a scrying pool, a wishing well,
a bowl. I scry using a bowl. I don't use a ball of glass. You know, I use a bowl. There's a large bowl, and I might have it accessible, and it has to be black. It's a black one.
Yes,
that I have. Because I can relax my mind and easily get messages through it.
Yeah, see what you said. Relaxing your mind. When you're going through an episode of trauma, that relaxation isn't there.
You can use this for scrying too.
Wait,
obsidian.
Yours is actual obsidian. Mine's the cheap metaphysical store version, but it still works.
Yeah. Or like putting a candle in front of this while you're trying to scry, and then you start looking at the reflection of the flame of the smoke that's rising. You can see all of that and then see the reflection, and then you can get more profound messages like that. Even scrying with like candles and stuff like that.
This is my scrying bowl. The wooden bowl.
Ooh,
and I
like
fill it with water
on there.
Yeah, and I fill it with water, and I have a candle close to it, and I relax my mind, because the whole thing with scrying, it's a lot of people think it's just like looking at a bowl or looking at, and then like images are gonna pop up, like it. And when you're that conscientious trying to find a message or an image is when you least get it. And the example that I make, and I think we can all associate with this, and I've used it before. It's like when we're driving. You know, sometimes we're driving and we get home and we don't remember the whole trajectory. But we were aware. You know, we light up, we stop at the red lights, we let people cross and everything. But it's and a lot of it I experienced from driving in the highway. You know, looking at the patterns at the line. My mind is focused on the lines and on the pavement, right? But I'm so relaxed that my mind opens, and sometimes I have like stories playing and things coming to me at that moment. you know, and I wasn't actively trying to find images in the lines in the highway,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's that process, you know, you just had to focus on something that is repetitive or something that you're able
Mm.
to block
Road
to be able to get
road
those messages.
No,
hypnosis.
yeah.
I like
Road.
that.
I've had it many
Mhm.
Um,
times.
I like that.
when we're talking about, at least for me, divination requires you for good readings to put yourself in a liminal space. Liminal space, for those who don't know, means the in between. You're not actually conscious, you're not actually subconscious, you're not, or unconscious. You're in that open, calm space that Ramon was talking about. That
Mhm.
liminal space is necessary for magic. And for me, it's necessary for divination. That's why you guys, I do the 420 tarot, um, reaching higher dimensions, um, because it puts me in that liminal mindset, and
Mhm.
it allows me to read.
See, for me, it helps me with meditation. Like if I can get into that liminal space, I can meditate really well. And if I'm trying to meditate into a past life, I can get into that past life really well. So I think all
Here's
of that
Mhm.
helps with a lot of that stuff.
talking about unconscious or hypnosis. When I do the dishes, I've said this before on my
Mhm.
show, when I do the dishes, repetitive motion and the water
Mhm.
and it's just visions, that's when shit
Yeah.
happens. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to be very conscious of doing something, paying attention to the TV, because otherwise I'm going to have some
Because
kind
you like space
of
out,
vision.
you know, when
Yeah,
you're doing it, you space out.
yeah, I'm accidentally putting myself in that liminal
Yeah.
space. Joanne, there is a 420 coming up with Joey. Um, I'll look at it and post it at the end of the video.
On Tuesday.
Is it
Mhm.
possibly? Okay, we'll go with that Tuesday. And yeah, for anybody who hasn't seen it, 420 with me is just that. Joey and I get together, we smoke a bong or a joint, and
You cleanse your decks like that.
yep, and then we so next Thursday during at 1 o'clock, I'll be on 420 with Joey. Uh, yeah. So next, what do we got?
Next one, necromancy. And I think we know what that is.
Mhm.
Communication with the dead. And it's tools that are used, spirit boards, ancestor altars, mediumship tools. And then an example is contacting an ancestor to cover ancestral trauma. Now, there's a fine line with that, because a lot of people won't recognize themselves as a necromancer, right? Even though, uh-huh.
No way. You got a glow in the dark Ouija board. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and it's the Halloween one. I haven't opened it yet, obviously. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So this I got in Salem when I was down there. My husband and I got married, and the guy from the Salem Witch Board, Salem Witch Board Museum, he actually helped create this, and it's from Trick or Treat Studios. If anybody knows Trick or Treat Studios, they're the ones that do a lot of the Halloween stuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's another form.
Yes. I have a board too. You know, a lot of people are like afraid of boards. You know, it's, to me, it's really, who is it that you're trying to contact? Um, and a lot of people don't see themselves as a necromancer, but you hear all the time in the community people asking, "Can I get a message from my uncle? Can I get a message from my ancestor?" You're communicating with the spirit of a dead person to be able
Mhm.
to extract information, but you don't consider yourself a necromancer, right? Now, what's the difference between something like that and necromancy? Necromancy follows certain rituals to be able to establish communication with the departed.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Or
simple.
necromantic magic um, used to involve entrails in dead things, reading the entrails, reading that type of thing, using the energy of something, not sacrifice, but using the energy of the dead to
Or
contact
going to
the
a
dead.
cemetery to do this stuff,
Hmm.
and using the energy
Mhm.
of your surroundings there to be able to communicate.
I work in
It's
Celina works with Hecate, who is the goddess of necromancy. Ramon
Mhm.
works with Santa Muerte, um, Holy Death. Dead don't mean evil, folks. Um, and I think that word necromancy has a really powerfully negative association with it for that
mhm,
whole reading the dead entrails thing.
yeah.
But like you're saying, it is. I don't consider myself a necromancer, but I do contact the dead. I do.
I mean, I don't consider myself a necromancer, but like you said, I do contact the dead. I mean, I
Mm,
talk to them every single day.
Now I'm looking at myself
mhm.
like, am I a freaking necromancer? I could-
No, no, I don't think
I-
so. That necromancy has a much heavier rituals
yeah.
associated with being able to establish contact. You know, it's going to like certain places where there's residual energy from dead people, like cemeteries, you know,
Maybe I can do
hospitals, you
that
know.
then, because so I live
Residual.
close to Gettysburg, which is where the
Mm.
Civil War happened.
I I live
And
between three cemeteries
yeah.
here,
Oh, so you
and
have like
it's
a little triangle going on there.
yeah, I have activity in my house every day.
Okay.
I
I
was
mean, I
actually
have
with
activity in my house every day too, but
like every
so
day.
the,
My
yeah,
partner is witness of it too, and he's not
yeah.
into divination. He doesn't have like spiritual. Uh, I don't know. He doesn't talk about spirituality. He doesn't believe like in ghosts or anything, and he witnesses these things
Hmm.
happening every day.
Yeah.
You know.
I love that. Now, here's my question for you on that, Ramon. Did you know the location was between three when you moved in, or did you find out after the fact?
After the fact, you know, it's after I moved. No, after I moved in, that I started to discover, you know, looking around the neighborhood. I saw one of the cemeteries, but you know, walking in the afternoons, we started to go to different paths and discovered that there are cemeteries. That the house is like surrounded by cemeteries all around.
So cool.
That is cool.
Hmm.
I'm
That
not
is
gonna
really
I love
lie.
cool.
cemeteries.
Yeah, me too.
I love the architecture of it. I like the
Mhm.
energy, the serenity. There's
I always say
so
you
much
should be hearing the
beautiful
living, not
energy with
the
it.
dead.
Do
Hmm.
you guys cross your fingers when you drive past a cemetery? It's just
No,
No,
something I've
in
done since I was a
Mexico,
not
so there's
kid.
really.
Sinan. So in
No.
Mexico, they do
The
the sign
cross,
of cross. Yeah, every time you cross,
Hmm.
like past a cemetery.
No,
same
on the
thing.
contrary, I haven't been to any of them. Like I walk by, or I drive by, and every day I say I have to stop by one day. I want to stop by one day.
That's so
I
cool.
have. Hmm. Yeah. So yeah,
So
that's.
like so when I go to Gettysburg, I do try and communicate with the soldiers that are there. And usually it's not bad, but a lot of like lately, like when I do go, um I start feeling a lot of their pains, like physical pains, and then I start tasting blood.
Hmm.
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that's a form of
Mm-hmm.
psychic power,
Yeah.
tasting.
Yeah.
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 Um,
But I mean, but I
Using a
could taste
spirit.
blood when I was younger. Like even when I was like
Mhm.
9 years old, I could taste. To me, when I would taste blood, it was like a sign of something bad was going to happen. Smelling flowers when there's no flowers around was another sign for me that something bad was going to happen.
Here's a thing about the dead. For years, I didn't bother contacting ancestors or other spirits that had passed on or anything like that because somebody in my family once told me dead don't mean smart. If they were not so smart when they were alive and made bad choices, why would you talk to them when they're dead? Now, that stuck with me for a long time. And it wasn't until I was older that I realized once you die, you have a different perspective. So,
Mhm.
um, but because of that, it put a block in my education, in my development. Stupid things like that will mess with you. Joey gets mad at me because I got a block with astral traveling. Because of a stupid book I read when I was young. So yeah, belief will mess with our abilities. So what's next?
I have a spirit box, and
Stop it!
I do, I do.
Stop it,
And the reason
Ramon!
I
Oh
want to
my
use it
god!
in in the cemeteries around, see what I
Okay,
pick
you
up.
need to tell me where you got it from because I have been trying to find a spirit box and I cannot
You
Oh,
find
the
guys
it.
one I have is really cool because it
explain,
Oh
records.
my
explain.
god! I'm like so I'm excited. Let's hear this.
Explain
Yes, I'll
what
send
a
you the link.
spirit box is.
A spirit box is basically a radio that has been modified, and what it does, it scans through different channels, and the whole idea is that you start picking up from bits of the scan, either through the white noise or like bits of words, a message,
Would this
or
be
something.
EVP?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, like, have you watched the movie Transformers?
yeah.
You remember Bumblebee? He couldn't speak.
Bumblebee.
Yeah.
He didn't have
Yeah.
like vocal cords, and he will scan through different like stations and put together a message. Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the same
Oh, that's
concept.
a great way to put it. Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
cool.
So
Yeah. So I
yeah.
mean, I love
So
watching ghost adventures, and I know some people say, "Oh, it's not true," blah blah blah. I
mhm,
love it because they use all these different devices to be able to communicate or see like an image
mhm,
of like the body there, and to me I think it's flipping amazing. I would
yeah.
love to be very
Ange
cool.
wants to see my spirit box. Give me a second. Let me
Yes.
pull it.
Oh my god, that is so cool, Ramon. Yeah, I need to get one.
Okay, here's the
Like I
thing.
have like
What
other
the
devices.
fuck? All right, Tarot Oracle in the Soul. Now, why would all right? No
Well,
judgment.
yeah, you did mention that.
What? I can't see sitting down with intention to talk to a demon. I just can't.
Well, I don't think they realized they were talking to a demon until afterwards.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. If it just showed, that's different.
Yeah, she
Okay.
wasn't like intentionally reaching a demon, but she
I'm
said that.
like, I have friends that would do that, like Luciferian witches.
Yeah, so she didn't know it was one. She talked about it in one of her shows that she.
All right. So I did research trying to find like a really good spirit box, and I found this one and had great reviews. And it's from a company called Paranormic Spirit Box EVP research device. It's a really
Oh,
cool.
you have to send me that information after the show.
Yes, I'll send it. It's on
I need to buy
Amazon.
one.
hmm
Oh my God,
And
Aquarius says she
it ha-
has multiple devices for paranormal investigation too. Oh,
and the cool thing. Let me see if I can.
FM mode.
You turn it on, and then it starts scanning through different channels,
so
and you can set up like the speed and everything.
Uh-oh.
And the cool thing about this one is that you can record as well.
cool.
You can
Really?
record what's playing, which a lot don't do,
Mm-hmm.
and you can transfer the information through USB. You can put a memory card in it. It's
Oh
really
my
cool, which
God,
is
so
because
cool.
a lot of people, or I guess, when you're using it at the moment, you can like pick up a lot of the information, but when you're analyzing through with more
Mm-hmm.
time, you'll be able to get much more.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's
So
really
how
cool.
many
So I
times
want to
do you use
use it.
that?
It did. Now,
A couple.
did you ever get
I've
freaked out using it?
It's the first time I used it. Yeah, I haven't used it in a while because last time I used it, I got like a very impactful message, and I was using it here. So I sort of like stopped using it a little bit. I just wanted like I wasn't like grounded enough to be able to
You fuck
for the
around and
impact.
find out.
Yeah, for the impact of the message. Yeah. So there's
Yeah.
some preparation that you need to do to be able to establish that communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very good point,
It's
Ramon.
not
And plus,
dangerous. I mean, it's not dangerous. You just have to
It's
be
in the right.
careful. You have to be protected.
Yeah.
The day that I did it, I wasn't protected. I didn't establish a circle of protection.
And I think that goes back to our previous show where we talked about protection and grounding, how you need to be doing all of that prior to picking up any of these methods for divination.
hmm
yeah,
And I was
especially
using
if
this
you're trying.
device too that
Oh,
day
is that
to
like a
be able
millimeter?
to. It said to be able to pick up
The energy.
electromagnetic
Oh,
energy.
so cool.
This it went like
Oh my
up
God.
all the
no,
way. It was
for
creepy.
sure.
Yeah.
So cool.
I want to address this real quick so we don't ignore it. Zach says he had a traumatic experience earlier. You guys in chat, please lend Zach some support. And I want to make sure he's taken care of.
Yeah, John. Yes, definitely.
And Joanna just posted about that. So yeah. So what else we got?
Yeah. So if you're interested in the topic of spirit box and want to explore it and want to get one, this is the best one. I'm not sponsoring it, but just to save you some time in the
From
research.
finding, because for me, it's like I
Yeah.
was looking and looking, and I'm like, I was looking at reviews. I always look at the reviews to see what, especially when something like that. And then they have some where you can get them on your phone. Like it's an app you can download, but I'm like, well, how accurate
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah, they're kind of
You
crappy.
know, and why do you want it connected on your phone like that?
Right.
You don't want to be
Exactly.
picking up messages in the middle
I've
of the
seen
night
those
trying
movies.
to
They
sleep,
never end well.
No, and that's why I'm like,
You
I
got
don't
a
wanna-
you have a
download
voicemail
that
from
on
the
my
other
phone.
side.
Right.
A text message from beyond.
No.
All right. Okay, so we were at necromancy.
Yeah.
Hold on, my phone froze. I was using my phone. Necromancy, oneromancy, which is divination through dreams.
Yeah, somebody had asked about dream interpretation earlier. This is what we were talking about, oneromancy. That
Yes,
falls into my
neuromancy.
category.
And
As
it's interpreting a recurring dream or falling as a warning about control issues. I don't. That's
Yeah.
weird.
So how many times
but
do you
it's
feel like falling in a dream?
it's getting messages while you're asleep
Mhm.
and then remembering them when you wake up. That's a key factor, is remembering your dreams. So if you're trying a neuromancy, put in a notebook by your bed. And as soon as you wake up, write down your dream. Don't say you'll get back to it, because I guarantee you'll forget.
Yeah. Or put the moon tarot card underneath your pillow if you're trying to remember dreams.
I pray to Hermes. One of his titles is Oniromancer. So yeah, the thing with dreams, I used to have really bad dreams when I was younger. So I tried very hard not to dream. If I started dreaming, could wake up, I would wake up. Now it's not so bad, but everything changed when. Have you ever had those dreams when you're running and running and running and can't go anywhere?
Yeah.
In this dream, I threw myself forward, and from my fingers became pointed, and I was digging into the ground and pulling myself, and my toes were the same thing. So I was doing that on the ground, and that changed my dreaming. And after that, I wasn't scared to dream anymore. But do you dream in color or in black and white? Gerald wants to know.
In color.
Technicolor with black backgrounds. Yeah, that's how I do it. I don't see sky. I see black.
Yes, my dad has. My dad doesn't practice divination at all. My dad is like really religious, Pentecostal, but he has a gift of getting messages beforehand through dreams, things that will happen. My dad like picks them. It's kind of scary because he and a cousin of mine, they both have like very similar energies. They both look alike and everything. And they have that thing. My mom says you speak through it's hard, it doesn't translate well in English, but it's like hablar por boca de santo, like talk through like with the mouth of a saint. And it's
word
with
of
him,
knowledge.
it's with dreams. Yeah.
Christians call it word of knowledge.
Yeah. And we see dream interpretation in the Bible as well. You know, Joseph,
Mhm.
when he was in Egypt, he interpreted dreams for the Pharaoh. You know, the times that there was going to be famine in Egypt. You know, the dream of the cows, the skinny cows, and the cows that were healthy. That's how he rose into power through dream interpretation.
Yeah.
I used to dream of being trapped under the water. And I don't know if you guys have ever been to Disneyland, but there's the submarine ride where you go through and it looks like the polar ice caps above you.
Mhm.
I used to dream I was trapped under and I couldn't get out. All those dreams happened at the same time. It was a very rough time. So I did a ritual to prevent myself from dreaming in that way. Um,
Wow.
now I'm balanced, I'm centered, I'm on weed. I'm much better now. But Hermes is the bringer of dreams, one of his titles. So there are gods who work with dreams. That's how they speak to their followers. Christ,
Hmm.
like you were saying, Christians get words of knowledge. Um, yeah, dreams. I'm working on it. I'm practicing with dreams. I'm getting past the trauma now. Um, so that is a scary one for me. Dream work. That is a scary one for
Hmm.
me.
Well,
Which
because you also astral travel while you're doing that too. So that's why you.
have you? When I do that and I'm dreaming and astral traveling, I mean, I literally wake up like this. you know, um, it's terrifying to me. So,
Yeah.
and I'm trying, I'm trying, I'm trying. All right. So what else we got?
Osteomancy, divination using bones. It could be animal bones, marked bones, casting cloth. Um, and
Finger
I think
bones.
this is like I think this is one of the oldest forms of divination, osteomancy, using bones.
The Yeah, I've seen movies where they've cast actual finger bones, and they're supposed to be historically accurate. So I've always wondered, did they really do that? Um, r- Runes are a form of casting bones, aren't they, Ramon?
Hmm. Yeah.
Like putting runes on the bones and then casting them that way, right?
A lot of the early dice were made of animal bones. You know, they will like
Like
shape them
probably or
and uh-huh. And you know, I saw a video years ago of someone who practiced osteomancy. She has a channel, and even though I don't practice osteomancy, I liked her philosophy of it because she would use like chicken bones, but before using them for the divination purposes, she will consecrate it. You know, she will like
Hmm.
try to establish uh giving peace to the spirit, to the soul
Mhm.
of the animal that inhabited those bones. You know, trying to because if you think about it, a lot of these animals they die in a violent way. They live horrible life. You know,
Hmm.
Yeah.
the overfed, short lives, and they die in fear and pain. You know, and that energy stays in those bones. It stays in the
Yep.
meat. I mean, this is a whole different topic. That's why I don't eat meat. I've been a vegetarian for almost 20 years. But that's my personal, you know, philosophy. But in the case if you're using bones for divination, be aware where they come from. They're
Mhm.
ethically sourced. They're ones that you use from consumption, and you want to work with them. You want to honor the animal by keeping the bones for divination, not just tossing them in the trash. You know, make sure to try to establish peace with that soul that inhabited. Help them cross to the other side in peace, and you know, try to bring a positive energy to them.
So that's like in the movie. I mean, it's reminding me of the movie is it Avatar when he, kills one of those animals that's trying to attack him, and then she's yelling at him, but then she's like trying to teach him that, You know, they're trying to let that
you know,
that animal's
being
soul.
grateful
Yeah,
for.
exactly.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Mm. So yeah, they did use. I'm not gonna lie. I think it'd be pretty interesting to have a finger bone set, but kind of gross at the same time. If we were 500 years in the past, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I don't think, but no,
For
it's kind of
divination purposes.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's
I'm
easy.
happy.
You have 10. Choose which one you want.
I'm just happy. Yeah,
For a
I'm
tarot,
I'm happy just using Ogum staves or runes
yeah.
rather than finger
Or go
bones.
digging in a cemetery and pull up some old bones there.
I just get the feeling if I'd have been a witch 500 years ago, I probably would have done something like that.
Oh, I've done the same thing. Yeah.
Okay, so where
Mhm.
we at?
Okay. Pyromancy, divination by fire. That's an easy one. Looking at fire.
Mhm.
Scrying through it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the shapes of the flames. It's
I mean, if
using
they
fire
pop,
as a medium.
yeah, if the flames
If they
pop,
pop, yeah.
yeah. If they
If they pop.
separate,
And
turn
going back
different
to
colors.
osteomancy, there's a very ancient form of divination using bones, tossing them in the fire. It's a
Oh,
Chinese divination method,
yeah.
and depending
That-
how it cracked,
Mhm.
there's a message. Depending on the pattern, the way it cracked in
That's
fire.
interesting.
Or like even when you're doing an incense stick and once you light it and I mean, sometimes they do like pop, so you can use that popping noise as well of
Okay.
incense stick.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, so we also have rhabdomancy, which is divination using rods or sticks.
Mhm.
And pendulum actually falls within that category.
Do tell.
Yeah.
All right, you're gonna have to explain that one to me.
Well, like that,
I know
like
about
there's people who use
like the
it's
dowsing
people who
rods.
use
Yeah.
dowsing rods.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's people who use it.
Okay.
I mean,
Oh, okay. I see the connection now. It's just
yeah.
it wasn't computing because to me, casting the sticks, there's plural and dowsing
No,
rods.
no, no. It's using rods or sticks for
Mhm.
for
So
dowsing
like you can get a
purposes.
stick that has
Yeah,
like a tree
now it
on it,
makes
Mhm.
sense. I realize
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
you were saying.
or you can do the
Mhm.
dowsing rod, which is a what is that, bronze? And then they usually like open, close when you're
Yeah.
asking a question.
I think Hershey uses
I
it.
have dowsing rods.
You
Yeah.
can use it as a Y-shaped stick.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's old school.
Spodomancy, divination using ashes. So it could be fire ashes, incense ash, fire safe surface. So basically, it's reading patterns in ritual ashes to gain insights.
That sounds pretty cool. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna lie, that sounds pretty cool.
Mhm.
I can't wait to do the barbecue next because I want to give it a shot.
With animals, you're gonna
Oh,
be
that's what I wanted to say about the fire scrying, Ramon. Different types of wood will give you different effects.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I
I'm
remember
pretty sure.
reading a book on this to where readings for career. There's different types of wood for the best type of readings. Yeah.
hmm We have tasseomancy, and I love this form of divination. I practice this one a lot. It's divination using, it could be tea leaves or coffee grounds.
Mhm.
And I have a video on my channel that explains the process of using either tea leaves or coffee grounds for divination purposes. And the whole idea is finding you see shapes or patterns within the residue, and you get a message from them.
Yeah.
I love it. Can you put the second camera? I just want to show you a really cool cup that I use for tasseomancy purposes.
I believe I can. There we go.
So this is a cup from the 1950s, and it's called the Romani divination cup.
Oh,
It's a
that's so cool.
gypsy. It's gypsy
Yeah, I've seen
inspired,
that.
Yeah, I
and it
love
has
that.
like all these different figures, and depending on where the tea leaves or the coffee grounds fall, it's a message, you know. So you have like the ring, there's an umbrella, an eye, a spider, the sun,
It's
you
almost
know.
like
And when you're
charms, but like on your
exactly,
yeah.
exactly, I got this at Etsy years ago. You can still find it. It's very hard to find, and they're very expensive, but it's really cool. And there's a couple of uh tasseomancy cups like these ones, but this is like the best one.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
that
this
one's
came
more
I,
intricate. They
yeah.
have cheaper ones like for 26 on Amazon, I think, but
yeah, and it
they're
came
not
with the
nearly that good.
original. Yeah, it came with the original instructions how to read the Romani fortune telling teacup, and it tells you like the meaning of each one of the images. You know,
Hmm.
like the car, it will take you to a journey. The arrow, it will you'll get a chance to zoom, blah blah blah. The bean, the dragon. It's like all these different images. It's really cool, but you don't need a cup like this one. Basically, it's just a regular cup, and it should always point at you. I have like the whole instruction on the video. But once you're done drinking the tea or the cup, you leave a little bit of water on the bottom and you turn it upside down with this part facing towards you, and you turn it 3 times clockwise, and then you tap on it and you turn it upside down. Then you get like a pattern. Some people also read the dish, so it could be divided as immediate situations or faraway situations in time, or the past, present, future. There's a lot of like different ways of
How cool is
interpreting.
that? Yeah.
Yeah. So I have different cups that I use for different purposes. This is like a fancy one I use rarely when I need to go deeper into messages, but I have like an everyday cup. I want to show you this one. I have one that I use to connect with Santa Muerte as well. And this is a teacup with
Oh, that's
That's
and it has
cool.
gorgeous.
skeletons. Yeah. Now this I use chamomile tea on this one because I use bulk chamomile flowers.
Hmm.
So I leave the residue of the flowers so I'm able to see it against black. And it's beautiful because chamomile, once it's bent, looks like gold, and it forms like these amazing patterns on the cup.
Especially when you get like the full flower, because you get all the little stuff that's coming off of it. Like
Maureen said she's totally fascinated with tea leaf reading. This is so cool.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
yeah, because it's a lot bigger. There it is.
And it's just found one.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you can it like definitely would leave a really good residue on there.
Oh my God, you're on it, Ange. You're like finding those links for
Yeah, she is.
all the cool stuff. Yes. I don't know how much is it now, but they can be pricey because they're collectibles. That there was like very few made, and it was made it's such
The
long
one
time
that
ago
they
that I'm
have
pretty
on
sure a lot of
Amazon.
them broke.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
one on Amazon, it's
Ooh.
larger than a normal cup, and it doesn't have nearly, I think it has the astrology and like maybe a dozen other symbols, but that's it.
Mhm.
Wow. That's a nice one, Ange.
Okay.
Yeah, but tasseomancy is fascinating.
Yeah.
Um,
It
Maru
is,
said,
yeah.
mhm.
Angie's link is 90. Maru is 20. That's the one I'm talking about, Maru, the cheapie.
Wow.
Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a really nice the one that Ange put on there, the old Romani one.
Lennon says, Angie's the live link beast. Okay, so we've got tasseomancy. What else we got?
Yeah, that's exactly the same one. That's exactly the same one that I have.
Yeah, it looks like yours.
Yeah, it's exactly the same one. It's actually it was made in England. Uh, and they're kind of hard to find. You find some people selling theirs, but anyway, the last one on the list is zoomancy, divination through animal behavior. So So it could be either domestic or wild animals, depending on how they behave. Maybe you can extract information. Like, for example, seeing a fox crossing your path as a symbol of trickery or cleverness. You know, the typical one with a black cat,
But
you
Yeah.
know,
yeah.
bad luck. But there's people who find meanings, or, depending on the culture, on birds, on, insects.
Yeah, birds is a good one. Like when they're all flying in that V
Yeah.
formation. Yeah.
Watching the flight of the birds. What kind of
Mhm.
birds? I had a white owl fly over my head on Halloween one night. It flew down towards me, and when it got like 3 feet from me, it went upwards. I knew it was a message, and sure enough, all hell broke loose shortly after that.
Hmm.
Animals,
Wow.
watching their behavior is a big thing. Watching them for earthquakes was a big thing in
Mm-hmm.
California for me, because we had a lot of earthquakes there. So if your animals all stop at the same time,
Or
pay
all the
attention.
birds are all
Pay
flying
attention.
one
Yeah.
direction, like away from the water, then that's another sign that something's going to happen.
Shit's
Like
going sideways.
with tsunami in, was that like Indonesia, where they talked about how all the animals were flying away from the water, right, like before it happened, and that's how some people knew that there was a tsunami coming, because of what the animals were doing.
Yeah.
So
Animals know everything as far as I'm concerned. I watch my animals. I have 5 dogs and 2 cats. So their behavior plays a big part in my, well, I want to say my psychic practice, but they really do. They're a gauge also on how I'm feeling, or what kind of energy is in my house. So if your dogs don't like somebody, that's an indicator.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, if the dog doesn't like that person.
Yeah, if my dogs don't like somebody, I probably don't like them either.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're able to pick up on other things that we don't or can't. Energies, or like frequencies, I heard a story of this. It was a nursing home, and they had a cat, and this cat used to go to the bed of the person who was going to die the next day.
I've heard that.
Yes, everybody was like a little bit afraid of the cat, but it's that prediction of dying based on the cat behavior. So,
well, there's like animals that can help heal you as well. So having the animals, they like, there's that's like service animals. They'll tell the owner, how about you sit down, because you're going to be having a seizure any minute now, or your blood sugar's off.
See, that's the thing. They know our energies, but they also are attuned to the energy of the world around them. That's why I believe watching animals plays a big part in everything. What we're talking about, crows are messengers for me. I named my channel Wild Raven. Ravens and crows are a big thing. What other animals would be indicated? Seals. When there's a lot of seals in California, it was prosperity and happiness if I saw them at the beach. I was never one of those people that if I saw a black cat, I got nervous. I was like, oh, yay, magic,
Yeah.
What animals, have you ever dreamed of certain animals?
Yeah. For me, it's wolves and fox. Those are the 2 animals I dream somewhat regularly.
Ramon?
Animals that not really, not that I can recall. I'm not really afraid of animals in general. I have 2 tarantulas.
You
I love
do, that's
spiders.
right. You
I
mentioned
do.
that.
Yes, I like all animals in general. I'm not scared of any.
Yeah, so the cats in Egypt, and then in Mexico, it was a cholo dog.
I love the cholo or choya.
Well, they call them the cholo, like the
Cholo.
Yeah, they
Like
call them cholo
Pato.
for short. Yeah, cholo
Yeah.
for short.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the coolest dogs. Those are the ones in
Mexican hair.
Coco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were
I
also known to help the spirit cross over. So they have like that same thing with the cats in Egypt.
I wanted to get one of those, but we inherited 2 dogs from my cousin or his cousin, so that
Yeah.
put that on hold.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't
I
meant to
have two. Yeah, I have 2 Chihuahuas, and they bring so much happiness to my life. You know,
Yeah.
their energy, like it raises a very positive vibration in me.
Aw. I mean, we got to see one in your video with the cherry blossom.
Oh, the cherry blossom. Yeah, I have another. Yeah, my long hair Chihuahua Mona. I have a photo of them on my phone.
Oh, that's so
That's
cute!
cute.
Yeah, Mona's the
So
long hair
Mona's the one that's
Chihuahua.
always in your pictures, right? The one that you
Yes,
would like make
yes, from the
sure.
songs. And this is
Aww.
Sophia. They're both my babies. Yeah,
Aw.
and she's in another video. I have a video that it's animals in tarot, and I like
Yeah.
explore like the meaning and symbolism of like animals throughout all 78 cards. And at the beginning of the video, I have Mona as well. I feature
Aw.
both of
So
them in the
cute.
dog section, but yeah.
Speaking of dogs and divination, do you have your dog pull tarot cards for you? Because I do that with my dog. She pulls tarot cards for me.
I know I haven't
I
tried it.
have a specific deck that only she has, that's only for
Mm-hmm.
her. And it's an angels. It's actually there's that one. Yeah. But like I will fan out the deck for her and then I'll have her pick some cards for me.
No, mine aren't that smart. No,
I'm gonna try that.
my cats and dogs will eat the cards. If I did
Well,
that, they'll just start biting on them.
I mean, she did put some teeth mark in them, but that's her deck. It's okay.
That's her deck, yeah.
Winds of
Her
Reflection.
energies are.
You dreamt about a candle last night. Like
Like,
what? Well, let me tell you what I'm thinking. Camels are the card of the high priestess. Her Hebrew association, the letter is Gimel, the camel that takes you across the subconscious.
Mhm.
So there may be some hidden things you need to address, my dear. That's awesome. So, can you guys think of any other forms of divination that we didn't cover?
Oh my god, there's so many. I gave you just a list
Only
of 25.
25.
I know.
There
Only give
is
us
You hit-
so
25.
many.
You hit the big ones. I
Yeah.
mean,
I think you can turn anything into divination, though. It doesn't
anything.
have to be anything on that list. As long as you have the intention and the mindset for it, I think you can turn anything into divination.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
kept
did
intriguing
it mention candle wax on there?
Yes.
Yeah,
Celina.
we did.
Okay.
Now,
Look, I compiled another list like other forms of divination. I'm gonna read very quick ones that were not included there, like alluromancy, divination using the behavior of cats. Allomancy, divination using salt. Anthomancy, divination using flowers, specifically flowers. Axinomancy, divination using a swinging axe or a sharp blade. Bellomancy, divination using arrows. Uh, uh, Consignomancy, divination using a strainer suspended from scissors. Cryptomancy, divination using barley cakes or bread crumbs. So, and the list goes on and on and on. There's
Yeah,
like
that's
so
so
many
cool.
forms of divination. We find, I think, the whole universe, you can find messages embedded in it. It's like, for example, the way I see it is like with DNA, right? I can take from Celina a strand of hair, a piece of skin, blood, and still your DNA is encoded in each one of them, even though they're different things,
Like your
they're
hair,
different
yeah.
elements,
Yeah.
and it's the same
That's why
thing. There is
there's-
messages
Yeah.
embedded in the universe that we're able to tap through different forms. It doesn't matter the form in the physical world or even in the abstract form, like with dreams or the wind. There's always, we have the capacity of tapping into those messages that the universe gives us.
Yeah. And I think it's all in your own mindset, like what it is that you are. I mean, you limit yourself,
Mhm.
Oh, Yeah.
Yeah, this is what we
When
were
they're
talking about earlier. If you can think it, you can do it.
Yeah.
If eh, gosh, I'm looking around my room to see what I would use. I see stems on stems on my table from
Mm-hmm.
breaking down my wheat. You can use stems. You can do anything.
Yeah.
Smoking that bowl. Smoking that bowl will give you some good visions.
Or even
Uh,
like the residue of anything you are smoking. It's the same thing with like the residue on the tea leaves.
I meant to ask you about the wax. That's interesting. Now, are you dripping and looking at the drips on a solid surface that they make, or are you dropping it in water and seeing
You
what
can drop
happens?
it in
Or
water.
can you do
To
either?
drop in water.
Yeah, you can drop
Mm-hmm.
it in water. But that also goes back to reading the huevo in the water. Like
Mm.
when you do a limpia, the Mexican limpia. And
Eh,
you're reading
I'm
what
assuming everybody knows about the limpia where you
yeah.
run
Yeah, where
the
the Mexican
egg.
where you do the egg and
It
you rub
absorbs the
hot.
negativity.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you're reading that information in the water. It's the same thing with reading wax that you know, you can have your same bowl of water and then you just start dripping the wax in it and whatever design comes up, you can use that for divination.
You've got me thinking now. Instead of using a black bowl, Ramon, maybe I'll look at the store and see if I can find a big white bowl and use like black India ink, dropping it into seal.
You just read my mind because I was gonna say that.
Really?
Yes, yes. I was gonna say that, using a bowl, a clear bowl, and dropping, inks, the different
Yeah.
whatever color you connect with or combination of them,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure you're gonna get beautiful images
So
or
when I
messages.
do like candle magic and I burn my candle all the way down, I'll usually read that candle drippings to see what's going to come out of that ritual, if it's going to be successful.
Mhm.
But then I
Yeah.
also read like the smoke in a pillar candle, like the big 7-day candle. If there's too much smoke in it, it means there's too much blocking that spell that I'm doing, and I'm going to have to repeat that
Mhm.
spell again.
Yeah.
If it's
You can
clear,
read the
yeah,
read the fire as you're
yeah,
lighting the candle that you're
yeah.
going to use in the ritual. So like there's like so many ways you
And
can,
here's
whatever
another one
method resonates with you.
that we didn't touch on, but YouTube. Going on YouTube, if you happen to catch a broadcast, like if I have nothing to do or I'm watching somebody's video, when I turn them on and I hear the first message, I take that to heart because I think that's
Mhm.
for me.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I tuned in right there, that message was meant for me.
Or the continued messages that come up, like recently I've been seeing a lot of videos come up of La Santa Muerte, which I've never seen before. So to me, I'm like, okay, she's really trying to talk to me, because now I'm seeing like,
Mm.
how do you connect with La Santa Muerte? Is she trying to talk to
Mhm.
you? And all of a sudden I'm getting them all, show up on my channel when I've never searched for her on
Mhm.
YouTube. So that's like,
Yes.
to me, is like
Yeah.
messages.
Synchronicities.
Yeah.
And when she wants to connect with you, she's really obvious.
Yeah.
But that's a yeah. But that's
And
a topic for
she's been like I mean,
yeah.
I see her every single day. There's something that comes
Mhm.
up and she's coming up. So I'm like, okay. And I've been like kind of ignoring it for a couple months now, but now it's like every single day. I'm like, okay, I can't ignore it because it's coming up all the time now. And now that I'm, in contact with Ramon here, I feel like it's constant, constant, constant.
Right? It does
Yeah.
seem like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But like in a good way, not like in a bad.
No.
It's
What
definitely coming up more.
And for those who aren't aware, Ramon is going to be guesting on my show specifically to talk about La Santa Muerte, and that will be
30,
The 31st.
yeah,
May 31st.
the
May
last day of the
31st.
month.
Yeah,
I'm looking
I'm
forward
so
to that
excited
show.
about this. You guys cannot miss that show. I have so many questions, and
I have lots of questions, so that's why I'm
I
like,
do want to ask about this. What is the owl that I always see her pictured with?
Yeah, the owl is one of the icons one of the symbology of Santa Muerte, and the owl is her messenger. Um, it's a
Really?
lot of people who connect with Santa Muerte. They connect also with the owl as well, to be able to deliver messages of healing. It's like the voice of Santa Muerte, and that's something I'm going to touch in the video as well, like the iconography of Santa Muerte and all the different elements, because it's not just the owl. The owl is
Mhm.
always with her, but there's also the globe, the scales, the scythe. There's a lot of confusion with a lot of imagery of a skeleton with clothing. Everybody associates it with Santa Muerte, and that's not true. You had Santa Muerte, you had the Grim Reaper, which is something totally different. You had La Catrina. La Catrina is not Santa Muerte.
Caterina.
It was actually an image created by Jose Posada. It was a
In the
cartoon.
1900 and
Yeah,
this
criticizing
early part
Porfirio
of the year.
Diaz.
Yeah.
Porfirio Diaz, who was a president of Mexico, he did a lot of great things for the country, but he lived a lavish life. And Jose Posada uh, did it as a satirical cartoon
Mhm.
criticizing uh, Porfirio Diaz.
So
There's also
don't.
San La Muerte, San La Muerte.
Whoa,
There's
whoa.
another saint called San La Muerte, which is not Santa Muerte. Is a male. Uh,
Really?
yes, it's venerated in South America,
All right, you're
in
gonna
the
have to
area of
stop right
Argentina.
there. Don't give away
Yeah,
too
yeah.
much.
I don't want to give away too much,
Don't
but
give away too much
Wait,
because
I
I
want to hear
want
it now.
right now. I'm
no,
like,
no, no. Wait till the
I can't wait
31st.
till the
Let's
I'm
stop
31st.
right
telling
there.
myself I should really stop him, but I want to hear more.
Yes.
2 weeks away.
So
Mhm.
that's it for today, you guys. Thank you for joining us on our exploration of different forms of divination. I'm confident that in the future we'll probably have a part 2 of this show, because like Ramon says, there's so many forms we didn't cover. Ramon, what do you got coming up?
What do I have coming up? On Friday, I'm gonna have Elizabeth from the More Intuitive Me on my show on In Orbit with. I'm looking forward to chat with her. I'm gonna have Rochelle from Amethyst Ascension. Uh, we're gonna have a Gemini birthday bash on May 28th
It's right, your
for
birthday.
Geminis. Yes, for Geminis, we're gonna be together just talking everything related to Gemini, favorite stones of Geminis, colors, personality traits, etc. The whole list of the videos that I have coming up and the lives that I have are on my channel. If you're not subscribed, please swing by and subscribe.
I
There's a
think
lot of
everybody
fun
subscribe to
stuff.
Ramon's channel.
Mhm.
Celina, what about you, love?
So Sarah from Tarot of the Oracle, Oracle for the Soul, her and I are having a show on Tuesday. So it'll be on her channel. So we're gonna do a live. So
Okay.
subscribe to her so you can watch the show.
And
You, Bobby, what do you got coming up?
I've got Elizabeth, the More Intuitive Me, is going to be on my show on the 24th, Behind the Cards. And the next day, I'm having back-to-back Behind the Card episodes. We have Sun Psychic Jean, because I really wanted to talk to her and I didn't want to wait that long. So I went ahead and scheduled it like this. And then we've got Ramon coming on to talk about La Santa Muerte. And then we're into June, and I got all kinds of stuff coming up. Next
You have
week,
pen paint on your thing, don't you?
yes, Ken is coming on for epithets.
Mhm.
Ken is going to be talking about Hecate. I am going to be talking about Hermes. On another episode, Ramon is La Santa Muerte. We're going to have an
You have
encore.
Joey coming on.
Joey's coming on talking about Bridget.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to have Joey back to talk about the Moor again also. So,
Oh, how cool.
yeah, I'm excited. I'm trying to find somebody who is versed in Egyptian mythology because I would love to have somebody on to talk about Isis. So I'm on the lookout for that. If you guys have any suggestions, send them my way. Have them shoot me an email. But for now, we're going to go ahead and end this. Thank you both. Stick around and we'll talk
Thank you for
backstage.
having us.
Okay.
And make sure you come back next week, you guys, for our next topic of discussion. I don't think we've set one yet, but we're going to be doing that backstage.
Yep.
So I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye, guys.
everybody.